Cosmos with Bailey. I'm Bailey and I'm a clairvoyant psychic medium and spiritual healer based in New Zealand. Welcome. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a different one. What was I going to name it? Bailey and the Cosmos. Are we ever going to evolve out of being nasty to each other? I think the word that I was going to say was asses, but I just thought let's use the word nasty. So I've had a lot of dreams and awarenesses, and I also had some people come into my dream realms the other night and ask me some questions. And so I thought, and one of the questions that this man asked me was, Bailey, do you think we're ever going to evolve or change? And so I will answer that question because there must be a lot of people out there feeling that and wondering what's going on and what you can do and what you're feeling and whatnot. And I'm going to sort of explain what's happening in the cosmos. And so I'm just going to talk a little about what I've been experiencing as well. So sometimes what happens is that people tend to glorify and glamorize psychics and healers and channels. And that's also coming from a state of spiritual immaturity. And essentially, spirituality is you just being very, very authentic to your soul. And that means if you don't like someone, you admit it. And that's been a lot of my healing, some of my healing stuff. As soon as you admit that you don't like someone or you don't like a family member, you release yourself from trying to pretend to cover up emotions and how your soul is actually feeling. So authenticity is very, very important when it comes to spirituality. And so it's when people are trying to sell you an image or something or whatnot, they're trying to portray something that they're probably not within. So please be mindful of charlatans out there at this time, because there seems to be a lot of people out there who are masquerading as channels and psychics and healers, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop, because there are so many people out there who actually need a helping hand because they're experiencing a lot of trauma coming up. So just please be discerning with what, who you're listening to when it comes to spirituality. Okay, so for me personally, I had a very hard time the last 3 years, and something happened to me this morning via a dream, and I got really pushed to stop excusing abusive behavior from a family member. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this circumstance. And it's a connection that's played out for the majority of my past lives, and it's been in that very, very intense victim-perpetrator consciousness. And so I'm going to go into victim-perpetrator consciousness. There's a lot of souls on this earth that are tired of victim-perpetrator consciousness. They are not resonating with victim-perpetrator consciousness. They do not resonate with being nasty to someone else. They want a better earth, and they don't want to be a part of an earth that is in intense victim-perpetrator consciousness, where stuff like war or bullying or stealing money from men is normal and acceptable and excusable behavior, because it's not. When we are in a state of disillusion, spiritual disillusion and illusion, and we are not truly connected to who we are in a state of spiritual immaturity, and that is victim-perpetrator consciousness. The victim-perpetrator consciousness keeps us in a state of us versus them. We never fully evolve into our higher spiritually mature states. We never fully evolve out of abusive family dynamics and abusive connections. We exonerate them and play them out over and over, and thus never evolve into more love, creativity, and harmony in the earthly realm. So with victim-perpetrator consciousness, and some of the stuff that's come through to me and what I've experienced, Some people really do love to have a victim. Some people need a victim in order to continue their storyline, so they will create victims. Other people need a perpetrator so they can stay a victim. And so it's very, very important at this time on the earth that you stop exonerating, supporting, and enabling victim perpetrator consciousness in others. If you do not want to be a part of the victim perpetrator consciousness, then you need to make informed, wise decisions and exit out of it. So that means shutting down connections and family members and family connections. That means eliminating family or friends or business connections that are using and abusing your energy or your money or your finances. You need to get better boundaries, you need to get better self-respect, and you need to get better self-love for yourself and your spirit, and start surrounding yourself with people who are on a like-minded resonance or frequency, the same frequency as you. Because what is happening in the cosmos right now is that there is a very big shift taking place. And this is to do with the fall of Atlantis and the new era that we are moving into now. So this is why I talked about the kings of Atlantis and the new loving masculine consciousness that's forming along with the loving mother energy, which I'll talk about at a later date. And in this higher consciousness, we have the loving father and the loving mother. So there's a big group of us souls on the earth right now who do not want to continue victim perpetrator, because in victim perpetrator we have the egoic, the juvenile, the immature, unloving mother, and the unloving father. So we have the immature mother or the immature feminine, or the immature father or the immature masculine, and they're both in their ego. And they continue to exonerate that victim perpetrator and hierarchical consciousness, where they consciously and purposely try and put themselves above others. And we are tired of this consciousness. I think if you resonate with my channel, you're most likely not wanting to continue and exonerate victim perpetrator consciousness. You're most likely absolutely tired of people playing it out on you. So that is a sign you need to get better boundaries and stop enabling victim perpetrator consciousness and stop supporting it in your immediate vicinity. So that means you may need to make moves. You may need to leave situations, and you may need to put some very strong boundaries if you do not want to be around people who will continue their journey in victim perpetrator consciousness. What else was I going to say? Wow, okay. What else was I going to say there? Yeah, so the new consciousness that's forming is when these new family dynamics will come in. So if you are aware there's children coming through, if you are around children, your biggest role that you can do when you exit out of victim perpetrator consciousness is be a guiding light in that more mature, loving father, divine masculine, loving mother, divine feminine energy for the younger generation and for the teens and for the people in their 20s. So many of us have not grown up with healthy, spiritually mature parents. And so there are a lot of the younger generation out there who are looking for the loving mother and the loving father, because their consciousness is more evolved than their parents. And it's a very, very hard slog incarnating into a family dynamic that does not support or understand your more evolved and loving consciousness. So, and I think what's happening is there is a lot of teens out there, there's a lot of people in their 20s that are looking for more mature, masculine, and feminine energies. They want better things for their lives, and they may have grown up in family dynamics where they weren't supported or there was intense victim perpetrator. I know for some reason I saw a bunch of these videos online about teen boys sitting in their cars or hotboxing themselves. I was just talking about how horrible life was. And I just sort of wondered maybe if their father just constantly berated them and shut them down. When your masculinity or your femininity isn't supported in the family dynamic, by a loving mother or a loving father for you to rise into your spiritual fullness. It can be one of the most disheartening and hurtful things that can happen because you're meant to be supported in the family dynamic. So the biggest thing you can do if you're a bit older is be just sort of like a guiding light for the younger generation, because based on what I've been doing about a lot of these children, even people in their teens, their consciousness is just so much more evolved and open than what we were. And so they need the loving masculine, the loving feminine, per se. So it's very, very important to see the reality of the earth right now, and that there is a very big group of souls continuing in victim perpetrator for the remainder of their incarnation. There was a very, very big closing of the doors that took place over the last 3 years on a cosmic and grand scale, of which I was dreaming about, when it came to victim perpetrator and in this new, more evolved, loving, heart-centered consciousness. And a very big theme in that new, loving, heart-centered consciousness that people are starting to resonate with, they're moving up, if they're saying no to victim perpetrator, is changing the family dynamics and how we raise children and not repeating the same trauma over and over. When you are in victim perpetrator, people tend to just repeat the same thing over and over and over. Some people love to stay in trauma. Some people love to stay in victim perpetrator. Some people love to be nasty, and I'm not here to cover up the reality of being on the earth right now. And some people need to create victims. I think I've already said that. And some people will continue that behavior. That is not your responsibility. You're not here to enable or allow it in your energy. And you need to really step back and allow people their experiences. And whatever cosmos brings for their evolution, they need to face for themselves. Because usually in victim perpetrator, you're very spiritually disempowered. You will blame and shame everyone else around you, and you won't do anything about your circumstances. When you're more spiritually mature, you are aware there's stuff going on within you. You're usually very grounded and mature, and you don't play the blame game, and you don't want to play the blame game, and you don't want to be nasty to people. So there's a very, very big difference in the two consciousness that are forming. What else? So it is the return of the matriarch, and in this new planetary era. And so you're probably, no more victim perpetrator if you're probably watching this. We're getting very sick of it. And what else was I going to say? You really do need to leave people to have their experiences. You don't know what they need to experience, what their past lives were, what their past life karma is. I know there's a really, really big karmic return happening because we're at the ending of a planetary era and moving into a new one, so things cannot continue. However, you need to leave souls and the victim perpetrator to experience what they need to. You're not responsible for someone else's awakening. The purpose of having very, very intense awakenings in victim perpetrator is because a lot of people will dig in their heels and refuse to change. And so the only way cosmos can get these people to start moving out of that consciousness is by very, very intense pressure, cosmic pressure. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff come up and out of people that they need to face and they need to work through on their terms in order to start moving into spiritual self-autonomy and self-empowerment and standing on their own 2 feet. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. It's very important to keep a bigger picture and a grander scale of things of what's happening right now, and to not continue to play into victim perpetrator. I know when I look online sometimes I get very disheartened that there's still a lot of these behaviors that are playing out and that we accept them and that we tolerate them. And some people, there's just different realms of maturity, and there is a very big divide taking place, and that feels about it for me. Thank you so much for watching.